and welcome to the Buckets and Tea NBA show. I'm your host, Cathryn Naiker. Thanks so much for tuning in to this week's episode. Today, we have TSN's sports betting analyst and new dad, who's been up since very early in the morning. And we promise you this is not a sports betting ad. It's Wesley Cheng.
Hey, thanks for having me. Yeah, a lot of tired, baggy eyes, a lot of makeup getting done to cover up all my flaws. So, you're getting the raw version of me today. So good to be on. Thanks.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know what? We're all using makeup to cover up our baggy eyes, even people like me who don't have kids. So, at least you got an excuse.
I feel like when I'm in the chair, I almost have I can consciously see there's extra time being put working around my eyes to get the raccoons going. So it's a real thing. It's this subtle way of telling me yo, get some sleep, dude.
Do you love getting your makeup done? Honest question.
It's nice. It's I feel pampered,
Yes.
It's wow,
yes.
I'm cool. I get to be in the chair. That's that's a nice feeling. I'm not gonna lie.
I love getting my makeup done by other people. And when they do, I become almost childlike, because there's a very large brush that they use just to it's not really for blush. It's kind of just to swipe away anything excess. And I'm can you just put that on my face?
Yeah. You just when you see it coming,
I ask for it.
A little more?
Just a little bit. Yeah. I literally
one more time. Yeah. Thank you.
Because it just feels so nice,
Oh, it does. Let's to anybody out there who's laughing about that, that's because you've never had it happen. That's
Absolutely.
why. Okay.
Absolutely.
It's nice.
Shout out. Nice.
Shout out.
Well, you do look great on air. You were covering last night's game. I saw you with the TSN crew. We fully bombed that game. But you keep it entertaining. I wanted to ask you, Wes, before we get into more basketball stuff, I wanted to ask you, how did you get into sports betting? How did you become a sports betting analyst?
Yeah, good question. So not that I really fell into it, but my first job in sports was with Yahoo Sports Canada. And so they're a huge hub for all things fantasy sports. So basketball was the sport I always covered. And then going from Yahoo to TSN, I was still doing a lot of that content fantasy. And it's just the timing of my arrival at TSN coincided with sports betting being legalized. So even though they're not exactly apples to apples, a lot of the stuff and principles you take from studying stats and fantasy sports, they're transferable to sports betting. So I mean, it's a new set of skills that I had to obviously learn, but a lot of the stuff that I was doing for Yahoo could be transferred to this line of work. And it's like anything else in life, just every day trying to learn from people smarter than me, significantly smarter than me, and just trying to cherry pick, the best of the best from everybody who I can find out there in terms of resources.
No, it's cool. And I'm sure a lot of people who play fantasy are, if they're not already sports betting, they're at least intrigued by it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And for me personally, I tried fantasy 1 year, and what I learned about myself is I'm way too emotional as a fan. Fantasy is not for me. Fantasy is not for the faint of heart. You know what I mean? But
yeah, absolutely. People listening to this, they'll tell you every fantasy league any listener is part of in Toronto, you have to pay a hometown discount to have Scotty, Pascal, Fred on your roster. It's just the way everyone pays up for their hometown guys. It's the same for every sport. Leafs, Jays, Raps is all the same. So it's you're not alone. Everybody pays up for their own peoples.
I made the terrible mistake of missing whatever my draft night was.
Oh yeah, that's
which is always so brutal. And then I thought I still had, this was 2017, I think. Where I thought I still had a good team. I had Kawhi Leonard and I had Gordon Hayward, and they both went out so early in that season that I was done anyway. I was just done.
I feel you.
I was like Eric Gordon ended up being the best player.
Yeah, That's gonna be tough times for.
I was like, I can't make a
here.
trade for anyone. It was dead. I was like, I'll just give my $20 to whoever right now. It's like
Just
end of
Salvation
November.
Army.
It was end of November and it was done.
You just see your team, like all the players aren't even being swapped in and out. They're just like static there. It's like, oh yeah, I haven't checked this since November 1st.
Oh yeah, that's exactly how it was. Exactly how it was.
It happens to the best of us.
But okay, cool. So one other question I wanted to ask you about that was like when you are analyzing, like how do you decide like where the odds are? How do you ultimately decide who you're picking on a given night?
That's a good question. Okay, so I mean that's the secret sauce, right? I mean, did I
just ask you to tell me like how KFC makes their chicken?
No, but it's like, if I actually knew how to, no, it's more like if I knew how to make good chicken, I'd actually have a proper recipe for you. But like every day, like I'm just sprinkling, let me try a little bit of this. Let me try a little bit of salt, a little bit of rose. Like every day, it's just about figuring out certain things that I'm observing with specific teams or like using fantasy as an example, certain players that you're seeing last 2-3 games, really doing a good job, or somebody gets injured and you see the replacement player for that person is not being properly valued in the sports betting market. Those are some of the things that I think a lot of people look at. But, and the one general note about betting on the NBA versus a sport like NFL, mm-hmm. The toughest part about the NBA is like, you don't know on a given night, is a team just going to show up or not? Like the Toronto Raptors
last night. Yeah.
Last night's the worst one. Like, look how sloppy they were playing after coming off a really good win against the Cavs, right? You would think like, okay, hold on. Siakam's back. Barnes is back. Everybody's ready to go on a run here. Oh, they go into New Orleans. New Orleans is missing their top 2 playmakers. No CJ, no BI. So,
well, the thing you're not considering is that it's New Orleans.
Oh, there you go. So like a lot of action going on. They must have had a good night on.
It's a night out.
Bourbon Street's it's a banger.
They're there once a year.
I totally get it, So that's probably what happened because there's no reason on that note, since we're just talking about it, the betting market, the entire market swung that game very heavily in Toronto's favor. So Toronto was supposed to be like a 1.5, like it's actually open as a 2.5 point underdog, like on the overnight line. By the time tip came, it flung a full 5 points, meaning that a ton of people were putting money on the Raptors.
Now, can I ask a silly question? Does that mean people are betting that the Raptors are going to win the game by at least 5 points?
By 2.5 points.
By 2.5 points. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So before people kept betting it, the sports betting odds makers were saying, if Toronto loses this game by 2 points, you still win this bet. But the market was like, oh, I'll take that for sure. And it kept moving all the way to Toronto has to win by 3 or more in order for you to win the bet. So all that's to say is everyone thought the Raptors were going to win. Like the whole betting market thought the Raptors were going to win. And then we forget to factor in the Bourbon Street X factor. And then there you go.
That's why I need to be a consultant. That's why I need to be consultant.
You just got to flag. You got to flag some of those notes. Hey guys, have you heard of this place called Bourbon Street? Might want to put that into your scouting report. Before
literally named after alcohol.
Yeah. So, I mean, that sucked. Like everybody in the market like expected the Raps to crush in this spot. And so like sports betting is just, it's tougher than you think. That's all I'm going to say to that.
What would you give as like a tip for someone who's like looking to either get into it or like placing bets? Like what is like one of the key things that you consistently look at?
I mean, this is not my own tip. I've heard from other people smarter than me, but like I buy into this principle. Bet what you know. Don't bet on teams, like obscure teams that you don't really watch. You don't really know the players with, this seems like a good opportunity because so-and-so, I read an article on ESPN. That, if you don't watch the Charlotte Hornets ever, don't bet on the Charlotte Hornets. You don't know anything about them. You might as well just flip a coin or go to the casino. But it's like, we're in Toronto. You know a lot about the Raptors. Okay, like feel comfortable betting into the Toronto Raptors betting lines more. Don't go wasting time betting on, the Houston Rockets and how they're going to perform tonight against the OKC Thunder.
Mhm.
Bet what you know. And, once you get more and more comfortable, you can expand that. But like, you don't have to go bet on all 13 games when there's a massive slate like that, like last night. Just bet on the ones you know.
Right. No, that's a good tip. But even then, it's like, I feel like the Raptors have been pretty, I would say inconsistent overall.
Oh, they are the worst team. They are the worst team.
They would be so frustrating to be the team that you
was so frustrating. Like, we joke about it on our production crew all the time. It's like, why do we have to bet on these guys? Can we bet on anyone else other than the Raptors? Because last night's like the best example of a night where every single person that's involved in the decision making behind the scenes felt really good about like, okay, this is a great spot for the Raptors. Yeah, let's go. Yada yada. About to go on the first 3-game win streak. Like, everyone felt the same way behind the scenes. And it's like, by halftime, Kate and Leo and Sam are just like, the fuck was that? They're just like what type of performance is that?
That's the halftime I want to see.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the halftime I want.
It was brutal. So it's a tough. Raps have not been easy to bet on. Hopefully they establish some more consistency now that everyone's getting healthier.
Yeah, well, you kind of you said something in your I don't know what you call it, your prepackaged like video piece, and you were like, well, this should be a good bet for the Raptors. Like, I felt like you said something in there where you were like kind of saving yourself, like, just in case.
Oh, but it's the truth. Okay, so this is also just like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna use this opportunity to defend myself every time I give a bad pick. Okay, so every time you do sports betting stuff, like, no one's gonna compliment you if you hit a winner. But if you lose one,
then then everyone's after you.
Everyone's like, "Yo, hey, are you gonna get me a refund for this bet I tailed you on?" Blah 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 blah. So the note I want to pass along to that is for anybody who actually bets and does sports betting long term, if you're winning 55% of your bets, that is considered a successful, like, you're successful enough as a bettor.
Right.
But the expectation for those who don't know and are just really casual, they expect you to win like 60, 70, 80% of your bets. And the truth of the matter is, if you can win that often, I wouldn't even be doing this job. I'd just be I literally just be full-time hiding somewhere in Costa Rica and just betting full time. No, seriously, right? Like, so when I go on air and I give bets, if I'm winning these bets, like one-on-one bets, 55 to 60% of the time, that's actually what's considered a success rate, a profitable success rate. But as it goes, you lose more often than not than people realize. So yeah, I gotta defend myself for sure. Otherwise, I get flamed out there. Got time for that.
Winning like 50 to 60 games in a season is considered pretty successful.
Oh, that'd be huge. Like,
so
I'd love to win.
Right?
I'd love to win 50 games in a season. That's exactly what I'm talking about here with sports betting. So yeah, good. Way to flag that. I appreciate you flagging that, because it is true. I always have to, like, it's like the journalistic principles in me. It's like, allegedly, he was accused, but like, can never say, you can never say directly what happened until it's like legit for sure. So it's like, you should bet in this spot. Like, I would consider doing this and that, but like, I never like,
but you don't tell people what to do.
Oh yeah. That's not how I roll. Like, I never directly tell people, hey, this is a lock, you have to do this. Well, no, what you want.
You're not that cocky.
No, well, I mean, I get crushed really fast.
Yeah. So I don't know why it reminded me of this, but it just reminded me of like when my mom like complains about the weather.
Go on.
because it's just like, well, the Weather Network said this, and then this happened, and it's like, I don't know, Mom.
Yeah, that's
live in Canada.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm a meteorologist, all right? I get it wrong more often than not, and I can still get away
You're
with
a very volatile meteorologist.
Yeah, really rough. I'm going to tell you, it's going to be like sunny and 25 today for this upcoming December week. Yeah, that's going to be tough times.
Optimistic, shooting for the stars.
Try.
All right, so let's get into some NBA stuff here.
Let's do it.
There's been some interesting stuff coming out this week around the fact that more travel calls have actually been called this season so far than allegedly ever. It's apparently really hard to decipher turnovers and then extract from that, out of all of those turnovers, what were actually travel. But apparently it's been happening more and more. A lot of players are complaining about it, mainly the Golden State Warriors, because they actually lost a game against the Dallas Mavericks over it, although it was the right call. But apparently they actually won a game earlier this season against the Sacramento Kings, and there was a travel violation that wasn't called. So, you had Steph Curry fully being like, that wasn't the right call, even though it clearly was. Then you had Steve Kerr basically calling out for consistency. But I'm just wanting to ask you, like, how do you feel like this has affected the game so far?
I mean, when James Harden started doing that, like, twinkle toe step back 3-pointer thing, I think all the basketball purists, like OG old head guys, would tell you, like, oh, what the heck is that? Like that's clearly a travel. And then somehow, like, the rules have kind of, it's like they've almost like evolved where they're allowing certain things like that to get away with. And I'm one of the old head guys, like, look, it's 2 steps. It's like that simple. I don't know about this gather that you can take like 800 steps in between, but as long as you like land on 2 feet, but whatever it is, right? But I think the principle is, like all sports, it's all about entertainment. More scoring almost always leads to more entertainment. But I think all this traveling stuff is trying to show a little bit more neutrality with that. So it's like we're not always favoring just purely offense. So like Dallas Golden State game, which was like a pretty big national broadcast game, it was like 10 travel call. I forget what was the number. It was like some insane number, right? And I think they almost use that game as like, what's the term I'm trying to say here?
Like using it as an example?
Exactly that. Just to kind of like show it around, the like, hey, we will call these when they're obvious. And some of them were very obvious, right? But most of the time, I think they get like kind of swept under the rug. National broadcast game, a game that mattered. I think that's why you saw it. I don't think most of the games are called like that. That was definitely an exception to the rule.
Yeah.
I don't think the majority of the games are like that. I felt like they were just punishing both of them that game for some reason. I don't know why.
I feel like I want to see, like, this might be like the comedian in me, but I want to see a sketch of like NBA referees like coming together and deciding like this is what they're gonna do to the Warriors.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, every night.
So funny to me.
They just get together. You get a little sketch of them in the meeting room ahead of them. Like, hey guys, Jordan Poole. All right, we don't like that guy. We're just gonna, every time he touches the ball, call a carry on him. We all agree. Everybody agree? Okay, great. Boom.
Yeah, like he insulted my mom last week. Like, we can't.
There you go. He looked at my wife the wrong way. I can't have that. This is it. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not suggesting any of that actually happened. It's just interesting that, like, it's just interesting when they decide they're going to reinforce something more or not. Like, like you almost never see like a carry being called, but it's happening every game. For sure it is.
That's pretty, I would say, kind of new. I'm noticing the carry calls a lot more this season than just last year. So I don't know what's up with that, but hey, if it's a carry, it's a carry. It's more probably a knock on the previous reffing crews not calling them because they just wanted to like get it going. So it's like now they're kind of just like calling it proper. Yeah,
like I mean, I'm aging myself here, but I remember back in the day, like Allen Iverson used to carry the ball like.
Oh yeah, boom! Don't worry, you're not aging yourself. Like, I have Michael Jordan back there. Okay, where is he? There he is. Michael Jordan. That's how I'm aging myself. Okay, I got Bugs Bunny back there too. All right, so that's
all right. Nice. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, he used to carry the ball all the time, and I think at one point they were like trying to like crack down on it a bit, but then it's like, man, it's AI. Like, don't mess with this guy's flow.
Just let AI cook, man.
Let him be him. You.
I think it's only bad when like he's the only guy in the league carrying at like such a ridiculous rate, then
which could have been the case in 2001, honestly.
But now that everyone they all have the same kind of habits and principles, that's why I don't think they care as much. It's not like anybody's like blatantly taking advantage of it. That's probably why it's like more loosely called, I'd guess. Everybody carries. Everybody travels. They're like, whatever.
Everyone jaywalks.
Everybody jaywalks. Yeah, do it every day. Just did it right now before this pod, you know? Yeah, come stop me. I dare you. I
did it too. I went on a walk before we did this pod, and I went up like a very steep hill. Like a very steep hill. And I got home and my face was just beet red. And actually I have this, I'm going to show you. It's this like neck fan. It looks like headphones, but
what
it's like a neck fan, and then you put it around your neck.
Whoa, you hold that
and you turn it on, and I used this to cool myself.
What? How is that even a thing that exists?
Here, wait.
Isn't it also like minus 5 degrees?
There's like a button here, and then you press it. Oh my
God.
I don't know if the mic can pick up the sound or not, but there's like a bit of air that comes through here. Like it comes through these sides, and then you just wear it like this.
I'm shocked that you needed that in Toronto's temperature right now.
I know, but I was wearing like a really thick winter coat, which I probably didn't need, and and I went up that really steep hill. Like it's really like I promise you, it's a very, very steep hill. Right, I don't want to give away like exactly where I live, but it's like.
I appreciate you showing that though. I'm glad I saw that exists.
and then I was using the neck fan. Anyway, that was I didn't know this existed. It was like it was a gift from Andrew Fung. Because I worked on his show and he gave it to all the writers for some reason. I don't know if he thinks we're all sweaty people or something.
Yeah, that is a very funky team-wide gift to hand out.
It's a weird staff gift, but I was like, this is revolutionary. Like in the summer, I wore it on the subway. Yeah,
kind of feels like a troll gift a little bit.
Maybe it is. I'm gonna ask him, and I'll circle back with everyone if it was a troll gift or not. But even if it was, it worked out.
Wow, you're getting good utility of it on December 1st in Toronto. Shout out.
On December 1st, 2022, I needed a neck fan. Okay, Let's move on. I'm realizing I probably should have switched these topics around, but
no, it's all good.
I wanted to talk about this very interesting article I found from Forbes magazine, and it was talking about essentially their headline is why tampering in the NBA still makes good business sense. And essentially it's talking about how, the Miami Heat and the Milwaukee Bucks have both lost their second round draft picks this year as a result of tampering. Miami, it was the pursuit of Kyle Lowry in 2021. And for the Bucks, it was their announcement in 2020 about a trade for Bojan Bogdanovic, which actually never happened, but it was leaked before it happened. And so they have both lost their second round picks. But basically what this article argues is that is essentially nothing for these teams, and that they would risk that every time. And it's a good argument to be made, and that essentially there is no real way to, I don't want to use the word police, but really to monitor or track tampering amongst teams, amongst players in any real significant way. That this is basically the most the league can do. And for me, this kind of begs the question, like, should these tampering rules even exist as they currently do?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably on all the ownership groups to come together and say, like, how blatantly unfair do they think some of these practices are? Because, I mean, my gut is in some way, shape, or form, everybody is participating in some.
Oh, yeah, I think so.
Yeah, everybody does, right? So it happened to be that these two teams just probably didn't do it as clean or as behind the scenes as they probably wanted to. But like you said, the punishment just doesn't match the payoff, like you said. And I agree with what the article is talking about. I just don't think Adam Silver in the league will probably go too heavy-handed unless there's like one like really bad example that the media picks up on, the fans get upset about, and then there's just enough negative press where they're like, okay, yeah, we got to fix that. This is bad for the game. But those are like really minor things that I don't think anybody, when they were happening in real time, any NBA fans really cared about. So it's like,
I agree.
Yeah, so like, why are we going so hard on this? Like, we should slap them on the wrist, but nothing to the point where it's like we're heavily or punitively penalizing them. But who knows? One day, maybe there will be a really bad example. One team or one fan base or somebody just really goes off about it. And it's, you know how these things usually go, they're reactionary. Oh, something happened. Okay, we better put in some rules.
Yeah, my impression of Adam Silver is he doesn't want to care about anything. Unless he absolutely has to.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's a lawyer by trade, right?
Yeah, only if you really twist his hand, will get involved. He does not want to get involved.
I think that is I think he's done a good job of not being too heavy-handed.
Sure, that's another way to phrase it. Yeah, you're a professional. Yeah.
I got bills to pay, you know.
That's fair. I pay my bills in other ways, so that's fair. But yeah, like I just think he doesn't want to care, and I think that, but he's kind of. I think his hand was turned. Like I think he was made to care, and he came up with this second round draft pick rule. But that means there's like 58 picks this coming draft in total. Like they didn't end up like giving those picks to like some other team or doing something else. So there's just like actually going to be less players drafted now.
Well, yeah, it's just
coming season. So it does affect people on some level.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of shout out Fred VanVleet, right? There's a lot of undrafted rookies that come into this league. So that's all it'll be. It'll just
be two more undrafted. Yeah. Two more undrafted players in the league, I guess. But yeah, I mean, it's such a I think they should really review tampering. I mean, I don't remember when the next players collective bargaining agreement is negotiated or what, but they need to revisit it. Like it just feels like it's a rule that no one's following.
I think it'll only really get to be a problem if one fan base or team feels very jaded. Like somebody that's like they really need it to have on their team, and then somehow some funny business happened behind the scenes, and then they got that player stolen away from. Like, imagine.
I can't even imagine what that would be. Okay, you're about
like no, it's like an OKC like Shea. What if somehow something happens, like Shea commits to OKC, and then behind the scenes somebody negotiates a really dirty agreement with him that's kind of closed door agreement, and then SGA ends up somewhere else completely when he was committed to playing for OKC. Then OKC will go out, and then obviously the fan base go crazy, and then if they go loud enough, maybe they'll do something about it. But it hasn't happened yet. Yeah, where it's anybody's been really upset.
I mean, I remember when Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving got together, and they were like, we've been talking about this since the 2016 Olympics.
Yeah.
And it's that means they were talking about it, not just haha, wouldn't that be hilarious talking about it? That means they were talking about it.
But that's an interesting one. So this is where I think it's
you're
this is why
Cathryn, you don't know that for fact, which is
no, but it's why can't players talk about that stuff? It's not they're doing I don't get why players can't talk about that
when LeBron James and Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh, decided to form their trio in Miami. That wasn't a conversation on July 1st at midnight.
Mm-hmm.
That's a previous conversation.
Oh, for
obviously.
Sure, for sure. So players aren't allowed to are we going to police what players can text?
Well, that's just it. They can't. And they're not going.
Why not?
They're not going.
Why
Well, Adam Silver says they can't. Which means
you can't
he's
police
not going to try.
Yeah. And
I'm not suggesting he should.
I think the tampering that should be policed is when there are rules that all the front offices and teams are expected to abide to, and they break those rules. That's different. But players talking amongst themselves, how are you going to stop that, first of all? And number two, why can't they?
You can't. But, for example, this is just like a very hypothetical, okay? I'm not suggesting this would happen. But if Masai was like, hey, like this player is going to become a free agent, Pascal, it would be really great if you befriended them. Who's to say that doesn't happen?
That's good front office management.
That's just smart, right? I think you should befriend him. You're going to the All-Star game. Hang out with this person.
So you're saying we need
go out together.
We need to trade for DeAndre Jordan, is what you're saying right now. We need DJ on our team.
I mean, we need a 2012 DeAndre Jordan. That would.
So we need Boban. We need to make a trade for Boban, and then.
Wait, are those the only free agents this year? Is that why you're mentioning?
No, they're just like two of like the friendliest guys in the entire league that everyone loves. So nice. Everyone loves, right?
Yeah,
so that'll be like, hey guys, send in DJ. We need to go get this player, yada, yada. Send in Boban, all right? Make the call. See if he can get this guy into John Wick 4.
Right.
That's how Boban will flex his muscles, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm just saying, like, I'm sure that happens. And even if it doesn't happen, like, who's to say that wouldn't be a good idea?
I think that's actually some really good front office management skill, like strategies.
Thank you. I'm going to take this clip.
You should.
Send it to them.
Actually. Yeah. And like tell them, hey, hire me, consultant. I got some.
And then I'll be like,
I'm gonna do some things different around here, right? Got some ideas.
I'd be so terrible. I would actually be so terrible. Speaking of front office stuff, all summer long it was rumored, Kevin Durant, Scotty Barnes, right? Like that was a whole thing. And then Serge Ibaka, love Serge. He was traded here on Valentine's Day. We'll never forget it. He brought back his How Hungry Are You series. He interviewed Fred VanVleet. That episode dropped this week. And he asked Fred, like, would you trade Scotty Barnes for Kevin Durant? And Fred said no, because he's a loyal guy. Appreciate it. Fred, we appreciate it.
Yeah.
Wes, you're a betting person. Are you a loyal guy?
I'm probably too loyal, actually, to be honest, especially as a betting guy. All right. I think I hold on to my prior opinions of people for too long. And then sometimes I'll get burned for that, even prior opinions on some teams. But yeah, shout out to Fred. Look at this guy. What a leader, eh? Just political answer.
Yeah, it is a bit of a political answer, isn't it?
Oh yeah, Fred knows what he's doing. He's built different, all right? He's built different.
He's rolling those dice. He knows what he's doing.
That was a good answer. Why would you say anything other than that? That Serge, he would ask Fred a question like that.
Yeah, otherwise, and then he's gonna like bribe them with that cricket tea. Here's the thing that bugs me about the cricket tea. He doesn't even try to make it good. You know what I mean? He's not filtering like when you make tea, you don't like leave a tea bag in the water for like hours and then drink it. You know what I mean? You steep it for so long, you take it out, maybe you add some honey to it or something. Like he's not even trying to make that taste good. No.
It's straight punishment.
And then he drinks it like, I do this every day. Serge, no, you don't. And if you do something else because you haven't been the same in like 2 years.
Serge,
so change the routine, Serge.
Serge has got to be one of the best social media guys out there. He's
I love him.
So extra, man. I love everything he does. Kills me, man.
I wish he was still on our team because the way I see it is, if you're going to be on the end of someone's bench in this league, be on the end of our bench. I want to see, like, we have been robbed of the opportunity to see Serge Ibaka and Gary Trent Jr. go shopping.
I'm willing to bet Serge would have loved to have stayed.
Yeah.
I think,
but we weren't going to pay him. We weren't going to pay him.
It just didn't work out. But I bet you he would have loved to have been here.
Yeah, I'm sure that's true. I mean, he's still doing his show for us. It's like Sportsnet has picked it up.
Yeah, I heard he still shows up at. I'm sure he shows up at Rollson every once in a while without us knowing. You know,
he'll
just be there. True. I bet you he'll just pop in once or twice a year, and no one would even know.
I'm sure.
Yeah, I think he loves. From what I heard, he loves Toronto. He loves. Toronto. Yeah. So,
but the question is, Wes, would you have made that trade?
With where the Raps are right now, I probably would not have. And the logic is like the Raps, I still don't think are really ready to win right now. Like, you know
Right.
what I mean? Like, even with Kevin Durant there, like, maybe. But, the way I look at it is like, look at how much money you'd have to blow to have Kevin Durant on your team. Scotty Barnes in the second year of his rookie contract. I don't think people think about that stuff.
Yeah.
But, like, so Apple's, like I said, this is the way I think most people think about it. They just look Kevin Durant skill level, Scotty Barnes skill level. Who's a better player? Kevin Durant. Okay, for sure you're going to take Kevin Durant. But it's skill relative to contract, relative to skill level in 3 years from now, 4 years from now. You know what I mean? That's like how you have to think about these things. And you're just not getting the same dollar for like bang for buck by having Kevin Durant on your team who's slowly going to peak and downhill. Whereas like Scotty, you don't know how high the ceiling is. And you're also paying, like in NBA terms, next to nothing for him right now. So like, why would you completely?
Yeah, because you would have to give up more than just Scotty to make that trade. It's
So
not just a straight up swap.
The only time I think you ever do something like that, where you're basically mortgaging your entire future, is like if you are like absolutely sure you'll have a legit shot to get to the finals with said player. And I don't think you can confidently say, even with Kevin Durant on the Raps in that scenario, they would beat one of Boston or Milwaukee to get to the finals.
Right.
So it's like, why would you do that?
Yeah, no, I think that's totally legit. I agree. I mean, I think that, there's different kinds of fans, and there's a group of fans that I call panic fans.
Mm-hmm.
And the panic fans are loud right now.
Yeah.
They're loud. Scotty Barnes is going through that sophomore slump, as people have talked about, and the panic fans are loud. And I'm telling you right now, if you told a certain percentage of people this summer, oh, and by the way, Scotty Barnes is going to go through a bit of a sophomore slump to start the season, they would have been like, do it, make that trade, But I agree with you. I think the ceiling is still too high. And I think it's like 4 years that's left on Kevin Durant's contract. He's playing amazing right now, but based on his history and his current age, the idea that he would be healthy for the next 4 years is
at the rate you're paying him.
At the rate that you're paying him, and also at the rate that you're kind of forced to play him right now. Yeah, I just feel like you're going to pay him that, but you're probably going to get realistically 2 out of 4 good years with Durant.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm a Kevin Durant stan. I don't.
A stan? You're a stan?
I'm big time. I think Kevin Durant's one of the best scorers of all time. Period.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure you meant it when you said stan.
Yeah, he's one of the best of all time. I think. Well, to put it out, like he's definitely a better offensive player than LeBron. And, you always see that argument 1-to-1. Mm-hmm. I think overall, LeBron is clearly a better player. But when you talk about purely scoring, there's just no one in this generation that's better or more unstoppable than Kevin Durant. But to me, it's also like trying to manage your winning windows. And I think just everybody that's on the Raptors team, we're not set up to win today. We're set up to win probably in a year or 2 or 3. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So you're trying to line that up a little bit better. And I mean, listen, if we knew all the answers, we'd be working for the front office, right? That's why they make all the big bucks and they do all the real decision making, and we just sit here and talk like we know what we're doing. But absolutely, Scotty Barnes, roll with it. I think the fan base prefers to have Scotty Barnes anyways. Mm-hmm. So just you gotta think about your fans. And I think the fans want Scotty here, so let the fans have what they want.
Yeah, I feel like I definitely appreciate Kevin Durant for the level of greatness that he is, but as far as being like a stan, I'm like really like old, like small backpack Kevin Durant stan.
Oh yeah, no, that's what I'm talking about.
I really stand him during his OKC years.
That's what I'm saying.
You're the real MVP years. Like that was just a different Kevin Durant than he is now.
Right. So like things have obviously changed, but like from as a basketball, you talk about from a purely basketball standpoint, it's like he's just more skilled and he's more technically sound than anybody in this era. Like LeBron's nowhere nearly as technically sound as Kevin Durant. Well, think about that. Compare the jump shots. As simple as that.
Sure.
Compare the jump shots, right? anybody who knows a thing about basketball knows Kevin Durant's jump shot is by far better than LeBron, and that's purely work in the gym. Like, you earn that. You're not born with that skill, right? So, Kevin Durant, all the respect to him, but I wouldn't make that trade either. I think the Raptors are doing the right thing, even if that was something on the table.
Yeah, I agree. In more Raptors talk, we talked a little bit already about how this past week has gone, but Pascal is back. He's looking great. We desperately need him, not just for his scoring, but his passing and how he facilitates our offense overall. I really predict that, when he's healthy, our record and everything is going to improve, despite our little trip to Bourbon Street. I just want to get your thoughts on how you feel about Pascal being back in the lineup now.
Yeah, so we were on the broadcast talking about this. When he went down, the Raptors' offensive rating dropped to 25th in the NBA during this period. They floated around 500. In the first 9 games when he was playing, the Raps had the 3rd best offense. My job is to talk stats, right? That speaks for itself.
Yeah, you can't compare it, yeah.
We have the 3rd best offense in the league when he's on the floor. We dropped to bottom 6 offense. And the eye test speaks for itself. It's just, we get a lot of empty, crappy isolation possessions. And when Siakam's on the floor, a lot more open shots are being spread out amongst the other 4 players. It's that simple. I'm sure we talk about it all the time. Siakam took a lot of flack last year, when he was coming back from injury. And people were really trying to give him the grinds. And he played well in the second half. He earned it. And now that he's playing at this version, it's you have to give him his love. He deserves, you're seeing on a national level, ESPN and everybody, I think they're giving Siakam a lot of love, but Toronto fans, super bitter fans. You know how we very, very petty these Toronto Raptors fans are. So, everybody.
Look, Petty gets clicks. That's why Petty gets clicks.
So Petty everybody who has given Siakam all the grinds back in the day, I better see them shouting loud and proud about how good Siakam's playing this year, because without him, the Raps would be a lottery-bound team.
Yeah, I completely agree. He's playing at a very elite level. I feel like when he's healthy this season, this might be the best he's ever looked, honestly.
Oh, Pierre, no, that's a no-brainer.
I've been loving Pascal this year. I do hope we all know he's an all-star, but I'm just saying, I hope he's back there again this year. He's definitely earned it. You said it, he was injured last year. He kind of missed that, but we all rallied behind Fred, which was fun. I even think maybe it should be Pascal and OG this year. If we get 2 players in the all-star,
that's exactly who it'd be. It'd be those 2 for sure. If it's 2 from the Raptors. The noise, how much noise Siakam's getting, it's all NBA first or second team.
Yes.
That's where the conversation is right now. And he will probably end up at best on the second team. But the fact that at least they're even willing to entertain that conversation.
That he could be first team, yeah.
Come on. A year ago, we would be calling pure bullshit on that. But this season is actually for real. You can actually make an argument, right? So, like I said, all the people that are hating, get the receipts out, get those tweets, get those retweets from 2021. I'm going to find them and I'm going to remind you. If I see any negativity about Siakam this year, y'all just don't know. You don't know anything about basketball, because Siakam's the only reason why this team's even winning.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I just love him, and I'm so happy he's back. And, and that he looked good coming back too. He wasn't shaking off any rust or anything. He looked great. So, despite last night's loss, I'm still so excited for the coming weeks and everything. And it was good to see Gary Trent Jr. have a good game too. It's probably the one silver lining that we could really take from that game. Last week I talked about Nick Nurse benching him, and he's been calling people out into the media and stuff, but I think last night when Fred got ejected, which was like was silly, but I think it gave Gary Trent Jr. like an opportunity, and I think he was like, I need to seize this moment right now, and that's what you want to see.
You know what? Like on that note, I think so we all hear it. There's so many rumblings about, oh, we better trade Gary now before like blah blah blah. Like now's the time to like get something good back for Gary. I'm going to use this opportunity to put him beside Scottie Barnes, both who came off the bench in their first game back last, the other game against Cleveland. You know, Gary's answer when asked by the press about, you know, how he felt about coming off the bench, he gave a very professional, like PR savvy answer. You remember how Scottie answered that same question after the Cavs game? I thought he acted like a whiny little teenage child that's like yes, getting a toy, you know, but like that's And so like my problem with that is like, look, if you envision yourself as being like a leader for this team or somebody who clearly is very important to this franchise, you're like, is that the type of person you want leading your team? And I think I get why he's emotional about it. He's upset, but it's just a good example to show his lack of maturity at this stage in his career. And Gary Trent's not too much older than him either. So I'm just giving Gary like a shout out for like, hey, he knew it's not a good spot for him getting benched. He knew Nick Nurse is giving him shit in the media. Yet look at the way he responded in the presser, coming off a really strong game. He's letting his game speak for himself. And that's just juxtaposed with how bad Scottie's looked in these games with the way he acted in that press conference. I hope Scottie takes it as a learning experience to be like, look, you know what? Like so much of basketball is mental, right? And I think he should look at this as a learning experience to like take a page out of Gary's book and like, hey, you know what? Approach this as a challenge that you have to overcome, instead of pouting about it and acting like a child, which he like, honestly, it was probably one of the most embarrassing like press conferences the Raptors have had this year to see the way he answered. That's a terrible answer, right? Like he literally looked like a 12-year-old kid that had like a toy taken away from him. Like, it's your first game back. Just like say something smart about it and move on. You literally got back into the starting lineup the next game.
Yeah. I mean, I think like, you know, we talk about panic fans. Like, I think a lot of panic fans are starting to worry about like Nick Nurse and like, you know, do the players, like, are they responding to what he's doing and stuff? I'm not panicked at all. I'm not worried at all. I kind of like that he holds the bar really high for everybody. Yeah. And, you know, I think for him, you know, it's early in the season and it's like, for him, it's a good way to let everyone know, like, you have to earn your minutes on this team, even if they low-key don't. You know what I mean? Yeah, even if they low-key kind of don't. I think it's his way of showing everyone, like, you have to earn your minutes on this team, and it's going to keep everyone, like, on their toes, right? And I'm sure Gary Trent saw that, too. Like, look, if he's willing to bring Scottie Barnes off the bench, why would I be treated any differently? And, you know, Fred's out, so now I'm going to have more minutes. And I'm going to utilize them. And I think like that ultimately is a good thing for the team, even though last night's game was terrible.
Yeah. And, you know, one thing to note on that is look at how well Thad played during his time filling in. But does that count for nothing?
Like, yeah, like you can't say he hasn't earned it. And like this Thad, you know, Juancho, you know, relationship, I'm calling it a relationship, I'm getting ahead of myself here, but you know what I mean. like their dynamic together has been great to see, and you know, who's to say they haven't earned their minutes, right?
So they played really well, and what's the coach's job at the end of the day? It's to get the team to win. And Thad's been playing some really good winning basketball for the Raps, and I actually think he has a really good role with that starting unit. So, you know, against the Cleveland team that has a lot of bigs, they got a lot of size, even though Jared Allen didn't play. I think it made sense to let Thad at least start the game, and then whatever minute allocation went to Gary, went to Scottie, fine. You flatten it out throughout the rest of the game. Thad was excellent. And that's not fair to Thad to suddenly say, oh, just because this and this person's back, we're going to immediately shoot your minutes down. Like, no. You know what? Make him prove it. And Scottie actually, in these first two games, hasn't shown that he's playing better than Thad. So until he does, maybe let him slowly work his way back up. Thad's been great. Shout out to Thad. Thad's been awesome. I really liked how Thad's played and looked on this team. He's the connector for all these guys right now. He's really getting the ball swinging. It was weird though to start the season. He wasn't playing at all, right?
Yeah,
which was strange. Everyone's like, so then why? It's like almost like, why are we signing him if he's not going to play any minutes? Yada yada. So I'm like you. Like I'm glad to see that he's getting good rotation minutes and he's actually having an impact. Even though his game looks really like unorthodox and funky sometimes on the shots he throws up.
Yeah.
But he gets it done, so it's all good.
That's just his quirk, That's just
for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. He's some quirky ass left-handed shots nobody expects coming. That's how he rolls.
This is a good time for me to finally have my Nick Nurse Hottie Highlight of the week.
I'm excited for this. I'm gonna sit back. Talk to me. This segment I've been waiting for on the agenda. Talk to me.
What do you want to know?
I want to know what's tell me more about this segment.
Well, so the origin story of the segment was to talk about like his suits, his fits, because like Nick has like, an eclectic style, but now like, they've been wearing polos for like 2 years now. It's driving me fucking crazy. Like I hate all of them. They're all garbage. I want them all to burn in like a nice bonfire or something, you know what I mean? But so now it's just like, what has he done in like the last week that's been interesting or fun or that kind of thing. I want to give a shout out to one of our listeners. Her name's Brittany. She went to the Arkells concert, was like messaging me and was like, I'll tell you if Nick Nurse is here. He's on the program, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, this is exciting. It didn't even occur to me to go to an Arkells concert to see Nick. But sadly, he was not there. So I was like really counting on that. I was like, oh, this would be such a great Hottie Highlight. But he wasn't there, which was weird because I think they were both in town at the same time. Maybe there was an after party. I don't know. I'm not that in the loop. But the other thing that I'll talk about, I was going to talk about like, Gary Trent, like rising to the occasion, but we kind of covered that already. So, I'll just use this opportunity to talk about the Nick Nurse Happy and Angry at Refs 2023 calendar. I've made a calendar of Nick Nurse. Me and Dana at Great Dane collaborated. Every month is a very wonderfully illustrated picture of Nick Nurse smiling, happy, and another picture of him yelling at a ref.
I love it.
It really captures his essence. It's all the reasons we love him, all his flaws, everything, you know what I mean? And it's in this really fun calendar and you can get it at Raptors Republic. So there's that. I gotta, for all the other Nick Nurse lovers out there like myself, I'm going to try really hard. I got other people out there. I got feelers, we're trying to get you the hottie content. But some weeks just, some weeks are better than others. Some weeks he really like surprises you, it's like he busts out the guitar, he does something fun and you're like, wow, this is amazing. And then other weeks it just, he's just playing it low key. So it's not an easy segment to maintain, but I'm trying.
Low key week, didn't hit up the Arkells as you would have hoped, but sorry I hopped on for a week where we got no Nick Nurse.
Oh, listen, Wes, like when something like big happens, like I'll tell you.
Okay,
even if you don't have a ton of time, because I know you got a newborn and stuff, you could just hop on for like the last segment even.
Let's do it. I'm literally happy to come back on. All right, we'll get it done.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Thank you so much. Wes, for all our listeners, let us know where we can find you on the internet.
Yeah, Cheng, literally, as you see it there, Cheng Wesley, that's my Twitter. It's my Instagram. You can find it there too. Most of the time, my stuff will be like on broadcast. So, like Raps pregame, Sports Center. You see the Asian guy on TV, there's only one of us. It's me. So it's me. What's up? All right. I'm that guy. All right. So come find me. TSN, Talking Hoops. It's only me.
Amazing. Thanks so much for joining us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.